10 minutes, 10 tools, 0 supplements. Right now, somewhere in your brain, a small cluster of neurons is deciding whether the next 10 minutes of your life are going to be productive or wasted. That cluster is called the locus coeruleus. It's about the size of a grain of rice, and it controls whether you feel foggy and distracted or locked in and sharp. Here's what most people get wrong about focus. They think it's a personality trait. Some people have it, some people don't. That's false. Focus is a state, not a trait. It's created by specific measurable shifts in brain chemistry. And those shifts can be triggered on command, in under 2 minutes, using tools that cost you nothing. Today I'm giving you 10 of them. Each one is backed by neuroscience. Each one takes less time than making a cup of coffee. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to switch your brain from scattered to laser-focused, essentially at will. Bulleted checklist, all 10 hacks, revealed one at a time as narrated. Here's exactly what you're getting. Panoramic vision reset. Reset your visual field to break tunnel vision stress. Physiological sigh. The fastest nervous system reset there is. Cold exposure to the face. Instant norepinephrine spike, no ice bath required, delay caffeine by 90 minutes. Smoother, longer-lasting alertness. 90-second full-body reset. Release tension that's silently draining focus. Single-tasking priming statement. Pre-commit your brain before distraction hits. Non-lyrical audio. Sound that supports focus instead of competing with it. The first 2 minutes rule. The lowest friction way to just start match tasks to your Ultradian rhythm. Work with your brain's natural cycle, not against it. Environmental friction removal. Cut the invisible cognitive tax of visible distractions. 10 tools, 10 minutes, total. Let's get into it. Before the list, I want to reframe what productivity actually means, because most advice in this space is built on a false premise. Productivity is not about working more hours. It's not about willpower. And it's definitely not about grinding through fatigue with more caffeine. Productivity is a function of attentional state, specifically how well your brain can suppress irrelevant stimuli and sustain activation toward one goal. Productivity, attentional state, not effort. That state is governed by a small number of neural circuits and chemical systems: the locus coeruleus norepinephrine system, the dopaminergic reward pathways, the prefrontal cortex, and your autonomic nervous system. The balance between sympathetic gas pedal activation and parasympathetic brake activation. Here's the key insight. You don't need more time to be productive. You need faster access to the right brain state. Most people try to force focus through sheer willpower, which is like trying to start a car by pushing it down the road instead of turning the key. It works, eventually, but it's exhausting and slow. The 10 tools in this video are ignition switches. Each one directly manipulates one of these systems: vision, breath, temperature, novelty, or timing, to shift your brain into a focused state in real time. Let's talk about the mechanism behind all of this, so the why makes sense before we get to the how. Mechanism. Simple animated diagram of brainstem. Prefrontal cortex. There are 3 systems you need to understand, because every hack in this video pulls one of these levers. System 1. The locus coeruleus norepinephrine system. This is your brain's alertness dial. The locus coeruleus is a small nucleus in the brainstem that releases norepinephrine throughout the brain. Too little activation, and you're foggy and unmotivated. Too much, and you're anxious and scattered. Neuroscientist Gary Aston Jones, whose work at Rutgers helped define how this system regulates attention, describes this as an adaptive gain process. Your brain constantly tuning alertness up or down based on task demands. And there's a century-old finding behind the sweet spot itself. Psychologists Robert Yerkes and John Dodson demonstrated back in 1908 that performance peaks at a moderate level of arousal, not the highest one, too much or too little, and performance drops either way. System 2. Dopamine and the reward prediction system. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure, it's about motivated pursuit. It's released not when you get the reward, but when your brain predicts a reward is coming. Neuroscientist Wolfram Schultz, in his foundational recordings of dopamine neurons at Cambridge, showed that dopamine tracks the prediction of reward, not just the reward itself, which is why novelty, small wins, and clear goals make focus easier. They spike dopaminergic drive toward the task before you've even finished it. System 3. The prefrontal cortex and top-down control. This is the part of your brain that suppresses distraction and keeps your attention pinned to a single goal. It's metabolically expensive to run, and it fatigues with overuse, which is why willpower alone runs out, but state-shifting tools don't. Alertness X, motivation X, suppression, focus. Every hack coming up manipulates one or more of these three systems directly, through your visual system, your breath, your body temperature, or the timing of your work relative to your brain's natural rhythms. Now let's get into the protocol. The 10 hacks. Hack 1. Panoramic vision. Reset your visual system and your alertness system are directly wired together. When you stare at a screen up close for a long time, your visual field narrows. This is called tunnel vision. And narrowed vision is physiologically linked to a stress-activated, narrowly focused state that's actually bad for creative or sustained focus. Here's the tool. For 30 to 60 seconds, look up from your screen and let your gaze go wide. Try to take in your entire peripheral field at once, side to side, top to bottom, without focusing on any one object. 30-60 Sigh, panoramic vision, no screens. This shifts your nervous system out of threat-narrowed vision and toward a calmer, more expansive alertness state, which is the ideal starting point for deep work. Do this before any focus block and anytime you notice your jaw clenching or your shoulders creeping up toward your ears. Hack 2. Physiological Sigh. If you only remember one tool from this video, make it this one. The physiological sigh is the fastest known way to voluntarily calm your nervous system in real time. It's a pattern your body already uses automatically during sleep to reopen collapsed air sacs in the lungs. But you can trigger it consciously to rapidly offload built-up carbon dioxide and downshift sympathetic arousal. A 2023 study out of Stanford, led by Melis Yilmaz Balbin alongside David Spiegel and Andrew Huberman and published in Cell Reports Medicine, compared this exact breathing pattern against mindfulness meditation and box breathing, and found the double inhale, long exhale pattern was the most effective of the group at improving mood and lowering physiological arousal. 2 inhales through nose, 1 long exhale through mouth. Here's exactly how to do it. Take 1 inhale through your nose, then at the top of that inhale, before you exhale, take a second shorter inhale on top of it to fully fill the lungs. Then exhale slowly and completely through your mouth. Do this 2 or 3 times. That's it. Use it whenever you feel scattered, anxious, or like your thoughts are moving faster than you can organize them. It's the fastest reset in this entire list, often working in under 30 seconds. Hack 3. Cold exposure to the face. Cold exposure triggers a sharp release of norepinephrine and adrenaline, the exact chemistry behind alertness. Research on cold water immersion, including work published by Panoramic and colleagues in the European Journal of Applied Physiology, found that even brief cold water exposure produces a measurable spike in circulating norepinephrine and dopamine, the same catecholamines your brain uses to drive alertness and sustained attention. You don't need an ice bath. Splashing cold water on your face or holding a cold pack against your cheeks and forehead for 20 to 30 seconds activates the same pathway through what's sometimes called the mammalian dive reflex. 20-30 sec cold water on face are instant alertness spike. This is particularly useful for the mid-afternoon slump, when your natural body temperature, rhythm, and circadian dip make you feel groggy regardless of how much sleep you got. A brief cold stimulus can cut through that fog faster than a cup of coffee, and it stacks well with caffeine rather than replacing it. Hack 4. Delay caffeine by 90 minutes. This one isn't about a 10-minute action, it's about a 10-minute mental shift in how you think about your morning. Adenosine is a molecule that builds up in your brain throughout the day and makes you feel sleepy. Caffeine works by blocking adenosine receptors. But right when you wake up, cortisol is already naturally elevated and doing a lot of the alerting work for you. Wait 90 minutes after waking before coffee. This idea was popularized by neuroscientist Stephen Miller, who proposed that timing caffeine around the natural cortisol peak could reduce afternoon crashes and build less tolerance over time. Worth noting, this specific protocol is more of a mechanistic, reasoned extrapolation from what we know about cortisol and adenosine than a large randomized trial, so treat it as a low-cost experiment worth trying, not an ironclad rule. If you drink caffeine immediately on waking, you blunt some of that natural cortisol-driven alertness and set yourself up for a harder crash later, once the caffeine wears off and adenosine, which never went away, just got blocked, floods back in. Waiting roughly 90 minutes after waking lets your natural alertness curve do its job first, and lets caffeine hit a system that's ready for it, producing a longer, smoother focus window instead of a spike and crash. Hack 5. The 90-second full-body reset. Your body holds tension patterns that directly feed back into brain state. This is bidirectional, not one-directional. Here's a fast somatic reset. Stand up, and for 90 seconds do slow, exaggerated shoulder rolls, neck rotations, and a few deep torso twists. Nothing intense, just enough to physically signal safety and release to your nervous system. 90 sec, shoulders, neck, torso. Chronic postural tension, especially in the neck, jaw, and shoulders, keeps low-grade sympathetic activation running in the background, which competes for the same resources your prefrontal cortex needs for sustained attention. Releasing it isn't just comfort, it's freeing up neural bandwidth. Hack 6. Single-tasking priming statement. This is a cognitive tool, not a physiological one, and it's one of the most underrated on this list. Before starting a work block, say, out loud or subvocally, a single specific sentence. For the next X minutes, I am only doing specific task. For the next 25 minutes, I am only doing Hack 7. Binaural or non-lyrical. Audio sound is one of the fastest levers you have on attentional state, but the type of sound matters enormously. Lyrical music competes directly with your language processing regions, the same regions you need for reading, writing, and verbal reasoning, so it tends to hurt focus on language-heavy tasks even though it feels engaging. Lyrics, shocks, language conflict. Instrumental, binaural, darks, no conflict. Non-lyrical audio, ambient, instrumental, or binaural beats in certain frequency ranges, doesn't create that competition. A 2019 meta-analysis by Garcia Argibe and colleagues, published in Psychological Research, pooled the available binaural beat studies and found some support for benefits to attention, though the effect sizes were modest and inconsistent across studies. So the honest framing is promising, not proven. This research area is still developing and individual responses vary quite a bit. Test it on yourself before assuming it works universally. Hack 8. The first 2 minutes rule. Dopamine is released in anticipation of reward, which means the hardest part of any task is almost always the first 2 minutes, before any progress has been made and your brain has nothing yet to anticipate. Commit to 2 minutes, not the whole task. The tool. Tell yourself you only have to do the task for 2 minutes, and you're allowed to stop after that. This lowers the activation barrier enough that you actually start. And starting is what generates the initial dopamine signal from visible progress, which is usually enough to carry you well past the 2-minute mark. This works because motivation follows action far more reliably than action follows motivation. Hack 9. Match task to Ultradian rhythm. Your brain doesn't operate at a constant level all day. It cycles through roughly 90-minute ultradian rhythms, alternating between higher and lower alertness capacity. This concept traces back to sleep researcher Nathaniel Kleitman, who first described what he called the basic rest activity cycle. A roughly 90-minute oscillation originally identified during sleep, later found to extend into waking cognitive performance as well. 90-min high focus, 20-min recovery dip. Fighting your dip, trying to force deep focus during a natural low point, is inefficient and frustrating. Instead, schedule your hardest, most focus-intensive work at the start of a rhythm, when alertness is naturally higher, and use the recovery windows for low-stakes tasks, email, organizing, or a short break using Hack 1 or Hack 2. You can find your personal rhythm within a week, just by noticing when focus naturally comes easily versus when it consistently fights you. Hack 10. Environmental friction removal. This is the least glamorous hack on the list, and also one of the most effective. Every visible distraction, a phone on the desk, an open tab, a notification badge, creates what organizational psychologist Sophie Leroy, in her research at the University of Minnesota, termed attentional residue. Even resisting a distraction costs cognitive resources, whether or not you act on it. Out of sight, out of cognitive load. The fix? Physically remove friction points before you start, not during. Phone in another room, not just face down. Close unrelated tabs, don't just minimize them. Every removed distraction is one less thing your prefrontal cortex has to actively suppress, which frees that capacity for the actual task. Quick recap: 10 tools, 10 seconds each. Panoramic vision reset. Physiological sigh. Cold exposure to the face. Delay caffeine. 90 minutes, 90-second full body reset. Single tasking priming statement. Non-lyrical audio. The first 2 minutes rule. Match tasks to Ultradian rhythm. Remove environmental friction. 10 minutes, 10 tools, 0 supplements. A few important caveats, because I'd rather you use this correctly than use it blindly. First, these are state-shifting tools, not substitutes for sleep, nutrition, or managing an overloaded schedule. If you're chronically underslept, no amount of cold water on your face is going to fix that. You're treating a symptom, not the cause. Second, individual variation matters. The research behind things like binaural beats and ultradian rhythm timing is genuinely promising but not uniformly conclusive. Some people respond strongly, others barely notice a difference. Treat every hack in this video as a testable hypothesis on yourself, not a guaranteed law. Third, more is not better. You don't need to do all 10 before every work session. Pick 1 or 2 that address whatever state you're actually in. Foggy, anxious, unmotivated, rather than running the whole checklist as a ritual. The goal is targeted intervention, not performance of productivity. Used correctly, these tools aren't about forcing more work out of yourself. They're about spending less energy getting into focus, so you have more energy left to actually use it. If you want to actually use this, don't just watch it. Pick the one hack that matches how you feel most often. If you're usually foggy, start with cold exposure. If you're usually anxious or scattered, start with the physiological sigh. Try it for the next 3 work sessions. Notice what changes. Which hack are you starting with? Comment below. FAQ 1. What's the fastest way to increase focus in under a minute? The physiological sigh, 2 quick inhales through the nose followed by 1 long exhale through the mouth, is the fastest tool in this list, often shifting nervous system state in under 30 seconds. It's the single technique to default to when you need a reset immediately. 2. Do these hacks actually work, or is this just productivity hype? Most of them are grounded in well-established neuroscience. The locus coeruleus norepinephrine system, dopamine's role in reward prediction, and attentional residue are all extensively studied. A few, like the exact 90-minute caffeine delay and binaural beats, rest on newer or more mixed evidence and are flagged as such in the video. Worth testing on yourself rather than treating as guaranteed. 3. How long do I need to do each hack for it to work? Most of these take between 20 seconds and 2 minutes. That's the entire premise. None of them require a scheduled break, a meditation app, or leaving your desk for more than a minute or 2. 4. Can I use more than one hack at the same time? Yes. Several stack well together. Cold exposure plus caffeine is a common combination, and a panoramic vision reset, followed immediately by a physiological sigh, is an effective 1-2 opener before a focus block. 5. Why does caffeine timing matter for focus? Cortisol, a naturally alerting hormone, is already elevated shortly after waking. Drinking caffeine immediately on top of that peak provides less added benefit and can contribute to a harder crash later. Once both cortisol and caffeine's effects fade and adenosine, the sleep pressure molecule caffeine blocks, comes back online. 6. What if none of these hacks work for me? Individual response varies, and these tools address state, not underlying causes like chronic sleep deprivation or an overloaded schedule. If you're consistently unfocused despite trying several of these, That's a signal to look at sleep quality, workload, or a conversation with a healthcare provider. These hacks are accelerants, not a fix for a deeper deficit. If this was useful, like and subscribe. Health is wealth. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.